Hello my lovelies, welcome back to my channel. You know what, if I can make these, so can you. So let's have a look at how to make these gorgeous little rings. Aren't they cute? So here we go. I'm going to leave all the materials that you need in the description box and we'll just get straight into it, shall we? So these are so cute, I think. Look at that. I'm being Ringo again, aren't I? Yeah, if you've been watching my channel for long enough, yeah, but I make reference to Ringo. Called Ringo because he wore lots and lots of rings. So let's have a look at what we need to make these. Aren't they cute? So what you're going to need is some 16 gauge 1.25 millimeter wire. Give it a good stretch out, and you're going to want about 23 centimeters, which for you inch guys is around about 9 inches. All right, now that's going to make a large ring. So my hand is a relatively large hand, so I made mine in an S, and this one in a kind of a V, and this one in about a T1/2, something like that. Yeah, so I'm going to give you the measurements for a larger hand. So all you need to do is just make it suit your hand. If you've got tiny hands, obviously you don't need as much wire. So what we need to do is come in with your six-step bow making plier. I'm going to use the largest increment, which is 9. I have a 2 to 9, but you can use the 10 if you have a 3 to 10. Doesn't matter, you know, these are just ideas for you. Like I said in the intro, if I can do it, you definitely can. So find your center point like this and bend your wire around the largest mandrel to make something along this kind of line. Want a circle essentially. Yeah, dead easy. And then you want to come in with your chain nose pliers. Let me get them. Just drop the beads everywhere. That's just typical, never mind. Okay, and what you want to do is you don't want them to be, these guys don't want to be too close together. Yeah, you want to have a couple of millimeters in between. So instead of straightening where they cross, just straighten just inside the loop like that. Turn it over and just inside the loop, yeah, so that you've got a little bit of a channel so that they're not too close together. Hope that makes sense. Okay, and just give them a bit of a straighten. You just want a little channel in between, and the reason for that is that we want to be able to wrap our wire inside it, yeah, because we want to be doing whatever wrap you want. I mean, I've chosen to do a 2 and 2. You can do whatever you like. Right, bring in your mandrel. So I'm going to make probably another TU, so we'll sit on U. I've got quite big hands, sadly, so you know, I don't know what that is in continental or American terms, but you know, it's quite a big ring. What's an S is a 10, it's like a 12 maybe, something like that. Who knows? Who knows? Don't forget, these are literally just ideas. So pop your wire onto your mandrel and bend it around thus until you get to about this point. Now obviously things do spring back a little, so if you want to make it slightly smaller, just go in and tighten things up a little bit so that you have this kind of thing, and then just try it on the finger. You know, if you're making them to sell, then you know, just make a range of sizes, I guess. Yeah, I think when my new shop becomes available, I shall be offering these for sale as well. But you know, so we have this part here. Yeah, so this is what we're looking for. We're going to be making these little spirals here. So you want enough in order to do that. So I'm going to suggest you cut off around about here. Yeah, which is what, Sammy? Let's measure that. 2 centimeters, about 3/4 of an inch perhaps. You can always faff about later with you know, with your measurements and with how things, you know, how things look. These kind of designs are really simple, hopefully. So when I was coming up with this earlier, you know, you just sort of faff around with things and see how things work. So I'm using this part of my plier here, which is the 2mm increment, and I'm just going to make the beginnings of a spiral by bending outwards on both sides like this. I'm going to be chopping the end of this off so we can create a nice round spiral if we can. So all I do is on an angle, just put my pliers around about here and then just cut off a little bit, which has just hit my blinds. I'm sure I've got absolutely piles of copper behind my desk. I really should tidy up behind my desk. Sun's coming out. I hope that's not a problem. And what we want to do is create a spiral. If it has a little bit of an angle on it, it really doesn't matter. All for the organic. Yeah? And just create your little spirals, which, like I say, you can faff about with later, which we're going to have to because that's just a little bit too big. So I'm just going to chop here. I'm going to leave the mistakes in because this is how we learn, isn't it? And this is how we make alterations to things if alterations are needed. So that's fine. So again, just cut a little bit off and then try again. That's all. Wind it around, make your little spiral. You can make it a double spiral. You can do whatever you want with this. Here we go. There we are. See, that's looking a bit better. That's looking a little bit better, isn't it? So we'll come in and do the same. You have to get the angles right on this, unfortunately. It's not that easy on this side, but you know, just do what you can. There we go. So we're getting somewhere. We are getting somewhere. So I'm going to take my pliers now and fettle things a little bit. There we go, that's it, it's settled into place. And bring that in. And then bring this one in as well. There we go. Looks a little bit rudimentary, that. Let me just... No, it doesn't matter. Let's just leave it as it is. So, pop it back on the mandrel and down towards the size that you're looking for. And this is where we give it a little bit of a tap. Yeah, so pop it on your mandrel. And come in with your chasing hammer and just give it a little bit of a tap. Because we're going to, you know, we want to make it the shape of a ring, don't we? It has to be sort of circular, obviously. So if we give it a little bit of a tap all the way around. So as you're going around, hold these two together. Until you get round to the spiral bits. There we are. So we have a nice round ring. Hopefully you've got a nice round ring, and you should still have that little channel, yeah, in between, because that's where we're going to be doing the wrapping. Does that look good? So just try it on your finger. We faff around with it later to make it fit, so don't worry too much. This is almost like, you know, like an adjustable ring actually, so you can, you know, you can adjust it if you want to. I'm just going to take that one off. Yeah. So the next thing we want to do is we want to make a choice of beads. So the ones that I've just thrown all over the floor, let me see if I can pick up the remainder. Now I think I used 12. Did I use 12? 1, 2, oops. 1, 2, right, okay, I'm using 3mm beads here. You can use anything you like. These are large 3mm. These are small 2mm. Not all made the same, are they? So these are 3mm. These are little glass beads from Czech Beads Exclusive. I got these in in one of their boxes last year sometime. I think it might have been Valentine's last year. Anyway, if you're interested, actually have a look in my description box for a link, an affiliate link to their beautiful, beautiful subscription boxes. So let's get some 4mm wire. Now I do this in 2 parts. You can, if you want, go round with the beads with a long piece of wire and then continue to wrap. Or you do it like I do and do 2 pieces of wire. So I've gone around the circumference of the circle and stopped, and then I've used another piece of wire to go around. So it's entirely up to you what you do. Completely up to you. I'm going to do it my way. You do it your way. And we'll meet in the middle somewhere. Right, so I'm going to take around about 10 inches of 26 gauge for this. That's 0.4. For us who work in millimeters, 0.4 millimeters. I'm just going to have to close the blind. Hang on, guys. Oh, seems such a shame to stop the sun from coming in, but it's, you know, it's not good for filming. Right, so we have our beads ready. Let's get our little beads out and let's do this part first. So, however you want to do it, entirely up to you. It's just a wrap at the end of the day, isn't it? So I wrap round 3 times at the very base, bottom here, and 3 times round. Oops, just to secure everything nicely in place. Now this is something that I've been learning weaving. I'm not brilliant at it. I'm just showing you what I've been teaching myself, really. Yeah, nothing new probably. So done 3 wraps here, and this is where we put a bead on. So little pink bead, on we go. Yeah, so all we want to do then is just to secure that bead and wrap it onto the frame. I'm going to call this circle your frame. It ruins your fingernails, does this? So nice and gently, but obviously firmly at the same time. Not firmly, you know, tightly, nice and neatly. So I've got 3 wraps, and then I've got 2 wraps in between each bead. I'm just going to pop that through there like this. Hope you're having a lovely week. I've had a nice weekend. It's been bank holiday here in the UK, so we've had an extra day off work, which has been lovely. Right, can you see here? So we've got another bead on, and then just wrap that bead on nice and firmly, securely, and then just keep going round. So we want 2 wraps in between each of the beads. Dead simple. Really simple. So there we go. Another wrap. I hope this is in frame. It's probably not, because I've not got my proper glasses on. Hang on, let me go and find my other glasses, honestly. And we're back, and as the kids would say, lol. Lol. Yes, another bead on. My kids would say lol. Let's put another bead on, and again through and secure. So I'll just do this one, perhaps one more, and then we'll meet back when we've done this part. Yeah, so that's 1 and 2. Keeping everything nice. Can you see? What you want to do when you are, let me see if this demonstrates it, when you are wrapping, because we've arced the circle a little bit when we've been hammering it a little, can you see? What we want to do is to follow that arc as we're going around, yeah? Follow the arc of the circle so that the beads sort of sit around the arc, because it's got to fit on your finger nicely, can you see? Yeah, so if you did it too flat, it would sit out at the sides. It would sort of stick up at the sides. So can you understand what I'm saying? I hope I make sense. I probably don't. I just sit here in my conservatory and show you what I've been making, and I probably don't make any sense at all, but that's okay. So we've got 4 here, yeah, and secure that on and secure that on. All right, so I'm going to meet you round at the other side when we've gotten to this side, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so have fun and I'll see you in a few. All right, my lovelies, we are back to the beginning, and as you can see, we've got our beads on. I stopped mine around here. If you want to fit one more in, it's up to you. It depends on how many beads you've got, you know, what kind of size they are, and literally just snip off both sides, both ends, and then come in with your little pliers and just give that a smush down, yeah, at both sides. So I have got 3 wraps and then 2 in between each of the beads, and then 3 wraps. So this is what we're left with. Pretty as is, yeah? But let's practice some wire weaving skills, shall we? I need to. It's fun, actually, and I'm learning how to do it. So you're going to need about 30 inches, 75 centimetres of your 26 gauge, your 0.4, so 30. And this is for my big ring. Obviously, you need to lessen these amounts if you are making a more dainty ring, you know, for you lovely people with more dainty hands than me. But I'm taking about 30 inches, 75 centimetres. Now, I'm going to start at this side. Now, a bit of a tip for you here, which I've discovered whilst I've been making these. If you start with your double wrap, which I'm going to, double wrap to start with, just because it looks a little neater in my personal opinion. Don't start with the double wrap. You want to start with the 2 single wraps. So pop your wire through and just give yourself a little bit of extra, and then you can double wrap later, yeah, if that makes sense. So don't start with the double wrap, because that tightens the wires in too much and you can't get your single wraps in. So just leave yourself a little bit there. So what we want to do is to do two wraps like this, you see, and then we want to do a double over the top of both of them like this, and like that through. So once you've established your first couple of wraps, you can bring this over and then do your first 2 wraps at the very beginning, if that makes sense. Because if you don't, you won't have the room. And then smush everything up. I've been using my pliers to come in and just give everything a bit of a squish down, make it nice and neat, or as neat as you can. And then you really just want to do whatever wrap you want. So I'm just doing a 2 and 2 like that, and each time I'm just coming in and giving everything a bit of a tighten. 2 and then 2 over the top of the both, yeah, over top of both, you see that? And just squish everything along, and then you want to come in and do your wrap around, oops, you wrap around the bottom. Let me just reset that. You wrap around the bottom like this and like this. So you just basically just keep going around and going around, making sure everything's nice and secure. I just keep resetting my 2 bands here just to make sure everything's nice and neat and they're not crossing over on each other. And every now and again I just give it a bit of a smush down, yeah, just to make sure everything's nice and neat. So we'll just do a couple more. Around for 1, around for 2, you see that? and then around both for 1 and then 2. Obviously all the time just making sure that you are gentle with your wire. You don't want it snapping. I mean, if it does snap, which has happened to me a couple of times, you can, you can add. It's just easier not to add. So around for 2 and then around both for 2. So as I'm sitting here listening to the birds tweeting, I'm not sure if you can hear them on the camera. I'm not sure if the camera's picking the bird song up, but it's just so mindful, so relaxing, as you just, make something really, really pretty. Mindfully. We like a mindful make on this channel. Around for 2. And then round for 2 half wraps. I'm not entirely sure the name of this at all. It was just, I think I might have seen, a random picture on Pinterest perhaps, not of the design but of the wrap itself. It's nothing new to me, nothing new to anybody, but I just thought it was a nice effective band, isn't it? Looks really, really, really stylish, really pretty. Around for 2, so I'll just do a couple more repeats and then we'll meet back at the end. Around for 2 half ones and then 2 doubles. Don't forget, all the time, just giving it a bit of a smush, just making sure that everybody's happy and everything's in place. Like I say, you can use, small beads are better on this. So 2mm, 3mm, that kind of thing. I did have a mind that I would use some, what they're called, little teardrop beads, and make them stand out a little bit more. Because of course you would just make these a bit shorter. So I don't know, I might try that and see how that goes. Right, so enough of me waffling, yeah? Enough of my silly chat. Oops. And then round for 2 more. So I'll meet you when we get to the end. And we're pretty much done. So I'll see you in a few. And we are back, my lovelies, and as you can see here, we are right at the very end of the wrap. Can you see? So all I've done here is I'm just going to do 3 wraps at the end, just to make it nice and neat, and then we're done. So that's 3 wraps at the end. Just come in and then just give it a little bit of a smush, make sure everything sits into place. Yeah, and then all you have to do is to cut this wire. Got a little bit left over there, but that's okay. Now then, I don't know if you can see, I'm going to cut the wire just in the center, and then I'm going to come in, see if I can get this so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to come in and just tuck that wire inside the channel, just inside that gap there, just so it sits in nice and neatly. Yeah, feels fine. And then here, should we do a 3rd? Yeah, let's do another wrap in there. So we've got 3 wraps at either side, so everything's nice and tidy. And again, snip it so that the end of the wire is just halfway, just so you can nip it inside, burnish it, give it a squidge, and just pop it inside like that, so that it doesn't irritate your finger. There we go. So that's that. Then what I do, pop it back on my mandrel. Yeah, it's exactly the same, the right size that I wanted it. And then all I'm going to do now, not too hard, don't forget, don't do this bit too hard, is just to squish that down. Make sure everybody's happy. And without cracking your beads, just give it a tap. The lightest of taps. And I found that just sits the wraps in place, yeah? Which is what I've found when I've been making these multitudinous rings like Ringo. Aren't they pretty? I really like these. Really, really nice. And I love the negative space. I'm into that kind of thing. Now you can leave them like this if you want to. You can leave them without putting a patina on it. Actually, that's a bit big for that finger. You can leave it like shiny. Oh, yeah, sun's coming out now, so you can leave it shiny, or you can put a patina on it like I have with these ones. Enjoy, have fun, and if you want to show off what you've been making, I'll leave a link down below to my private Facebook group where you can show off what you've been making. It doesn't have to be one of my designs, it can be anything, including crochet or, you know, knitting or whatever you make as a hobby. Enjoy making these, make them mindfully, and I'll see you in the next one, my lovely friends. Take care.